Hey guys, welcome back to another Weird Wednesday. I'm Ashers and this is
Oh,
Pat O. How was your weekend?
my weekend was good. I worked on movies. I worked on other people's movies.
Don't you love it?
I know it's doing my service work, hoping that putting the karma out there, and then hopefully it'll come back to me for the 48-hour October 2nd. But yeah, I did a couple promo videos for Illinois law hammer Lee Jacobson, friend of the show, past
Yeah,
guest. I did some shot some promo videos for his website. And in exchange, he did a bunch of LLC work for something that we're not going to talk about right now.
very cool.
But I got all that contract stuff done. So that was Friday. And then Saturday, I spent all day at the North Lake Police Department, not under arrest, but filming a shit ton of torture the flesh scenes in very, very little time. The police department there was cool enough to let us use their bullpen, their offices, their bathrooms, their stairwells
Wow.
for about 4 hours during the day on Saturday. And we came in there and we shot like 17 fucking scenes. And yeah, it was, I came home Saturday night and I slept for 10 hours. That's how fucking tired I was.
That's fucking nice, though. I'm a little jealous.
Yeah. Oh, it was, I do that like every 2 weeks where my body just says, nope, and then just shuts down.
Yeah,
And yeah,
wow.
that was Saturday. And then Sunday, I just did like computer shit. And, I don't know. I mean, I hate to say it to be one of these fucking people. I know that you're in the same boat though, but it's like, honestly, if you're listening to the show and we're friends in real life, don't ask me to do anything until November because every weekend is like so incredibly fucking packed. And there's so many irons that I have in the fire right now that like, if I realistically want to get half of this shit done, it's a good thing that I'm sober because if I was drunk or hungover, nothing would be accomplished.
Sure.
And it's just I need to optimize all of my fucking time. If I want to get
No, I
this stuff done.
understand. Yeah,
But
no, I fucking get it, dude.
yeah. And then one last thing I want to talk about on the book front, I did complete the Judgment of the Nephilim, which I think I finished it last episode. I was about to finish it, and I just started a book on high magic with a K, written by Damien Eccles of Paradise
Oh,
Lost and
yeah.
Him. Yeah, I'm about halfway through, and it's like totally enjoyable. It's a complete 180 from the Judgment of the Nephilim fucking book, but it's all about magic, and it's a totally it's a really big ego boost because I know like half the shit in there already. It's a
Right.
lot of techniques because I do guided meditation. I've been doing it for like years using the not MySpace Headspace app.
MySpace. Wow.
No,
Showing your age there, bud.
right?
Why most of these people don't even know what the fuck MySpace is.
Do I need a name drop hot or not? And we'll cut out the other fucking half.
Ooh, I know that one.
I'm sure,
Jenga.
I'm sure you do from when you were 9 or whatever. But yeah, no. So Headspace, it's an app that's very popular. I'm sure our listeners have at least heard about it. And kind of meditating just about every day for the past 3-4 years. Um, no, I'm really in tune with like visualization and controlled breathing.
Sure.
And that's a big part of the foundation of magic. So like being able, because I mean, obviously everyone has a different approach to it, but Damien Eccles' approach is more about like energy manifestation and redirection. And that kind of starts with controlling your breathing. So yeah, it's cool. It's like I said, it's a good book. I can't wait to finish it. And was hoping to have my tarot deck by today, but it's
Hasn't come in yet.
has
And that
not come
tarot
in
deck
yet.
is beautiful. I
I
really
know.
like it. I'm
I totally.
excited for you.
I'm going to pitch you this idea, and I know we usually talk about this stuff off air first, but I thought I would just kind of like dump it on you right now.
Sure.
I think it'd be a cool idea to do a series of interviews about tarot card readings because I know so many different people that do it and that practice it that I think you could have like half-hour conversations with each one of them, and they would all have a different approach, and it brings something different to it. And as someone that's like interested in just like toe dipping into it, like I know that I'm going to literally talk to like all these different people anyway. And why not just kind of turning it into an informative podcast type thing? But I
Yeah.
figure like you're bringing on weird. I know that's the podcast that with the two stoner chicks, and they do a lot of stuff about magic. And then my friend Ashley that listens to the show and gives me feedback all the time. Hey Ashley, we'll
Well,
call her.
Ivy is a professional tarot card reader.
Right, and I mean, like, there's another one. Like, there's
To
tons
bring
of
her
you.
back. Yeah.
We get to the point it would be an embarrassment of riches, where we'd have more than enough people to talk it to. You
Sure.
know,
Sure.
um, because that's my approach to it. Like I didn't want to when I ordered that deck and I saw it off Instagram, I was like, I don't want to just order a book off Amazon. That seems so like cheese dick and fucking impersonal. Like I would rather just sit down and talk to somebody and be like, well, what's your approach to this? Like, how do you feel that it works or doesn't, or blah blah blah. And the thing is, I off the top of my head, I could name like a half dozen people that I know that are super into it and that could really give me like legit advice. You know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's definitely a lot of, options out there. Like you said, there's plenty of people that practice it, and then different people kind of do it their own way. And eventually, I mean, my best advice to you is to also find your way to do it. But you know what? Maybe we could probably. I don't know. Are you a tarot card reader? Do you read tarot? Do you have a special way that you read tarot? What's different? What do you find that's different as a tarot card reader? Let us know. Send us
Yeah.
a
Hit,
DM
hit
on
us
social media, or
hit
you
us up
know,
on Twitter with your advice, and we'll definitely read them at the next show or
right
whatever.
at minimum. So I mean, and we'll talk about it. So I think that's not a. I mean, yeah, I'll think about it. How about that?
Sounds good. So, how was your weekend, Ashers? You're traveling abroad again?
Oh, you want to know? You want to know my weekend? Do you?
Yes, I want the stories behind the pictures that I see on social media.
My weekend? You want to know about my weekend?
I would love to hear about your weekend. Tell me everything. Don't leave
I
anything
did.
out.
I did things. I went places and I saw people, and we talked about stuff, weird stuff. Anyway, no, I went to the Braxy Bazaar in West Virginia, which is the anniversary every year of the Flatwoods Monster, the Braxy, Braxton County Monster, Braxy, the Green Monster, whatever you want to call it. Braxy Bazaar. So they celebrate every year the Flatwoods Monster incident, and it's great. It's a great time. Of course, I had lovely people there. But let me tell you, so I do have a lot to share about it actually. Let me tell you. The night before, okay, so I rode with Danner from Conjure Dust Design, who's great. Go check him out on Instagram. He sells a lot of really cool stuff. He illustrated Mothman Learns the ABCs. Great book for babies and kids. Anyway, I rode down with him, and he booked the Airbnb, okay, that we stayed at
Mhm.
Friday night. So I go to this Airbnb, and it was, first of all, it was really weird. We couldn't fucking find the place. It was so strange. So we kind of got out and like spent a good half an hour just walking around this strange town, and we got there at like midnight, and there's like nobody out there. It was so weird. Anyway, so I'm standing outside. I'm smoking a cigarette because I smoke because I'm bad. And I look over and I see a pharmacy. Okay, now West Virginia, and I don't know if it's a chain everywhere. We don't have them in Ohio, but West Virginia has a chain of pharmacies that is called Fruth's. Okay, Fruth's Pharmacy,
Mhm.
and so I see this Fruth's Pharmacy sign, and I remember it. And every time I see this sign, it always reminds me of back when I started this. The weekend that started it all for me in this weird world was Mothman Festival 2019. Okay, and I was with friends, and we had stopped at we had Googled one of these Fruits pharmacies to stop there so that she can get some medicine or whatever. And I was outside smoking a cigarette, and this whole weekend, I didn't know it at the time. I had no idea then what I know now, but this whole weekend was filled with synchronicities, okay?
Mhm.
And we'd stopped at this Fruits Pharmacy after all these synchronicities were happening, and I step outside the car. And I probably told this story before on the show and other shows. I step outside of the car and I see this like newspaper stand. And it says Signs of the Times. And Signs is like huge. And then like real small of the Times underneath it. And I took a picture of it and I was like, wow, that's crazy, man. It's nuts. Anyway, so I always think about that every time I see a Fruits Pharmacy sign. But then I'm like looking over there and I'm like, I think that's the fucking place. I think that I fucking have been here before. In all of West Virginia, I think I've fucking been here before. So I'm like telling Danner about it, and he's like, well, it's crazy. I'm like, yeah, I'm definitely going to check it out tomorrow, and I'll let you know if that's the place. So I wake up in the morning and I go over there because here's the thing is that also while I was standing there in 2019, I had taken a selfie. So I was like standing in between the Fruits Pharmacy and whatever the building was, because it's like kind of, my cat just like went nuts. I don't know what's going on. He's he's got some high energy. This episode's gonna suck to edit. Anyway, so I'm standing there between this Fruits Pharmacy and the building beside it, and I had taken a selfie, and in my selfie you could see the building that's right next to the fruits. So I'm like, okay, I can see that building. So I was like, I'm gonna go take another selfie over there and I'm gonna compare and see if it's the same place. Sure as shit, same fucking place. Somehow, for some reason, I ended up in the same town in West Virginia that I was in 2019 when all this started. Things just kind of came full circle. It
Wow.
was fucking weird. It was crazy. I mean, you can't make that shit up. You know what I mean? Like that wasn't an accident. I don't know what it means. I'm still trying to figure it out. My life has been very mystical and magical ever since, filled with more synchronicities than I can even tell you about. It's been nuts. So I don't know what's happening, but it's big. And it's intimidating. And so whatever. Anyway,
Well, it's I mean it's magic, and
yeah.
it's showing you that you're on the right direction. You know, I mean that's how I would read it, but that's just
And
me.
it is. It's definitely, I mean, it's something. So I really need to pay attention to the small things a little bit more right now, to kind of really get it, but yeah, it's blown my mind. I mean, it blew my fucking mind. So I'll post those pictures to compare, and you can see it's the same building. It's nuts. And little Spencer, West Virginia. I mean, literally, it's probably a population of like 500 or something. It's just a tiny town. It's crazy.
Hmm.
Anyway, so we get up the next day. We go to the festival. It was great. It was a great time. Tons of people were there. Manic Pixie Dream Ghouls were there. Small Town Monsters was there. Of course, the Moth Boys. We hung out with them. The festival was great, and I kind of walked around and I talked to a couple of more people, and so I'm actually and I'll talk about it in a minute. I'm well, let me I'll talk about the weekend first, and I'll tell you about these other people that I met. So we had a good time. Then we all went back to we had an Airbnb that all of us stayed in. It was beautiful, but my favorite part, I'm so sentimental with this. My favorite part, and I might cry. Everybody's gonna laugh at me. Was that I woke up Sunday morning, okay, in a house full of all these fucking weirdos that I just adore with all my heart and soul, and September 12th is the actual anniversary of the Flatwoods Monster, thing. It was the 69th anniversary this year, of course.
Hmm.
And I woke up Sunday morning and all these people start yelling at me, Happy Braxy Day. And that was just, I don't know. It got to me. I don't know. It felt so special. Like, I want that forever. I want to wake up every September 12th and somebody tell me Happy Braxy Day. Like, it doesn't make me feel so fucking weird. You know what I mean? Like, it's nice. It's nice to, like, feel comfort and camaraderie and, with all these people, especially when you have such a niche kind of, thing that you do or that you're into or whatever. But no, it's amazing. I mean, it's really amazing. So it was good. It was a great time. But I was saying that, beforehand, I talked to people at this festival and because I was trying to network for the documentary. The one guy I talked to, his name is George Dudding, I think. Dudding. Anyway, he writes books. And I talked to him for a while. He wrote a book called The Silver Bridge Tragedy because George Dudding was actually at the Silver Bridge collapse. He saw it. And he went on to write a book about it. And I asked him if he wanted to, be in the documentary. I said, that'd be great to have somebody that was there, give a firsthand account. And he was like, yeah. He said, well, my problem with it, though, is that he's like, and I go into this in the book. He said, is that people ask me all the time to come on their TV shows or documentaries, whatever. He said, and they want to hear the story, but they want me to connect it to the Mothman. And he said, I won't. I can't. It's not connected at all. It's two separate events. He said, I believe in the Mothman, and obviously the bridge collapsed. I was there. He said, but it's a different, it's not the same thing. And I agree with him. So I'll have him on the documentary. And then I also was introduced to the Fink brothers, and some people that are, all about the Mothman stuff know about them. They dress up as the Men in Black every year at the Mothman Festival. They're really involved with the Mothman Festival. And I had spoken with them, and we became quick friends. They've actually met and like hung out with John Keel, which is amazing because that guy's like my hero. I mean, I don't know, is he my hero? Okay, he's kind of John Keel's kind of my hero.
Okay.
But and then they were telling me about how they had met with John Keel and telling me about his experiences. But then they said that after they had met with John Keel, they had a lot of weird encounters, and they believed that they were being followed by the Men in Black for some time
Wow.
because of this. Yeah. And John Keel's the one who coined the Men in Black. Like, they had been happening, but he gave them the name Men in Black. He's followed by them extensively, and all kinds of, weird, he thinks, weird shit. But yeah,
That's a
no,
good lead into to tonight's topic, and it's a
it
part
is.
of the UFO kind of folklore that is hit or miss. Some people adopt it, and some people,
Hmm.
embrace it, and some people just completely ignore it. You
Oh
know,
yeah. Oh yeah. So I mean, it is really interesting. So I'm definitely going to talk to the Fink brothers a lot more, cuz at minimum, whether or not they're going to be featured in the document, I'd like to. I mean, I think it'd be fun. But they've had other encounters. I'd like to hear about those. And of course, I just want to hear more about how, what it was like hanging out with John Keel. They said he was, he didn't really talk about the paranormal much. So
right?
I was like, well, it's work. And they're like, yeah, yeah. So, very interesting people, very interesting guys. But I'm going back to, which I will get into in a bit. I'm going back to West Virginia this coming weekend to work on the documentary, doing a bunch of filming and all kinds of stuff. And I'm going to be meeting a very, very, very important person. So, which is, again, pertaining to this episode. But first, before we get into that, I got some news. I got some. You want to hear some news?
I would love to. What you
Some
got,
weird
baby?
news. It's not great or anything, but I mean, it is kind of great. England has been having, and England has always been having, but more recently, England has been having an insane amount of big cat sightings recently.
Okay.
So that's their cryptid, the phantom cat. We kind of talked about it a little bit we did the episode on cats. If you guys listen to that, if not, go listen to it. Of course, there's plenty of re-listen value on this show. Go listen to it again.
With a
Get your
friend
mom,
this time.
get your mom to listen to it. She likes cats. It's whatever. But no, England has been having a lot of cat sightings, like an insane amount of these big cat sightings, and just kind of recently, and somebody actually even got a picture of this thing. And of course, you can't hardly see it that well, except, I mean, you can. So you can see the back half of it. You can see the hindquarters, like the butt and the tail. And it's very much, it's very panther like. It's got a very thick tail. I mean, it's huge. It's a big cat. And so it's like, okay, so are we just going to continue to pretend that these things aren't in England? Or, I mean, is that, what we're going to do here? Because obviously there's something. So I thought that was interesting. I'll post the picture on social media so everybody can see it. But yeah, that's all I got for the news. I don't have any.
Really? That was it?
That was it. Big
That's
cat.
all you got, baby?
That's what I got. I gave it to you. That's it. But yeah, so Braxy Bazaar was great. Everybody was fun. Like I said, so I'm going back this weekend to well, not just Point Pleasant, to West Virginia, and we're staying for the whole weekend. Originally, it was supposed to be the Mothman Festival, and unfortunately got canceled because COVID. And
Hey, whatever happened with the active shooter situation at Wright Patterson this week?
oh, you're right. I didn't talk about that at all.
I know. I'm just
Man, I forgot all about that. It's crazy, especially because okay. All right, so let me slow down. So Thursday night around 9:30 p.m. It was announced that the base was on lockdown. Okay, so I live 10 minutes from Wright Patterson Air Force Base. All right, and
right.
the news started reporting about 10 o'clock that the base was on lockdown, but it had been locked down. They did like a soft lockdown. It sounds like they didn't really like put the alert out there to everybody, just people within the base. But after 10 o'clock, they have a loudspeaker, and it goes off in this creepy voice, and it's like lockdown, lockdown, lockdown. Well, it says really creepy. There's like video of it. I posted a video of it on Twitter, so if you follow me over there, go back and go watch it. And you can hear it for miles, and they were on lockdown, and so everybody's like, "What's going on?" And they're like, "Well, we don't know. There's an active shooter. That's all we really know." And then, like, as kind of time went on, they had posted something on social media, and they said that the active shooter situation was happening in the National Air and Science Intelligence Center, which was weird. And so,
Mm-hmm.
because you can't just get it, you can't walk into that building. First of all, you can't just walk up on the base. Second of all, you can't just walk into that building. Like you have to be part of the military in order to get inside of that building. And so everybody's like, well, what the fuck's going on? Is anybody hurt? Nobody knows. The base has its own hospital, they're right there on base. So like if anybody is hurt, they just take them over there. Nobody knew what was going on. And this was going on for hours and hours. And they went on to lockdown at 9:30. At 1 o'clock in the morning, they finally gave the all clear. And what they were saying was, At that point, they were saying, "Oh, well, they're sweeping the building." So then 2 hours after the first announced they were sweeping the building, they said they were gonna sweep the building again, so that was about another 2 hours. And, like, the building's big, but 2 hours to sweep the building, that's a long time. In that amount of time, whoever it is can leave, you know? It was just strange, and then, then at about 2 o'clock in the morning, they gave the all clear, and or I'm sorry, 1 o'clock in the morning, they gave the all clear, 2 o'clock in the morning, they released a statement. And the statement was that they found no threat at all. That somebody had reported that they had heard gunshots coming from the National Air and Science Intelligence Center, and they just had to go on lockdown just to be safe. And that's weird.
Yeah, but I mean, don't they get it wrong sometimes?
Yeah, but for like 4 or 5 hours,
Yeah.
I'm not buying the shit. So while this is happening, I'm getting ready to go to Braxy Bazaar, okay? And everybody knows I investigate the base. That's one of my places. I've had people reach out to me and tell me that like it was not nothing. And I haven't had the chance to sit down and talk with these people yet, so I don't want to say anything, but it's strange.
What do you? I mean, I know you probably don't want to speculate, but okay.
I don't want to speculate too much, and I'm not a big government conspiracy person. I'm really not. Like I'm not. That's usually not my bag, because I do talk to military personnel. You know what I mean? I do have people that open up to me about certain things. And so I'm not a big conspiracy theorist, because there's some things that I genuinely believe these people are telling the truth on. Anyway, I don't think that this is one of those things. I think that something was happening there, something strange was happening there, and because it has happened. We had that in 2018. I've told you about it.
Right, right, right.
I believe I talked about it on the show,
Yeah,
and we had that weird situation, and ended up being nothing. But I don't think it lasted that long. I'm almost positive it didn't last that long. And then they were just like, "Oh no, false alarm." And so this time it comes around and like, "Oh, false alarm." And it's like, but even during the false alarm one in 2018, I don't believe they had the loudspeakers and shit going.
yeah, John. You're right. 4 hours is a long time,
That's a long time. That's a
right?
long, and then to be like, "Oh, it was nothing." And so I don't know and we'll never hear about it again in the media. We never will. And I don't know. And again, it's at the National Air and Science Intelligence Center. Fucking
Yeah.
weird.
Is that open to the public?
No,
Okay, so it's not like someone was like a tourist was coming through there and he had a gun on him and he
you
accidentally.
can't even get
Yeah,
through those gates over there.
yeah,
You can't. You'd have to, and that's what I was saying. You'd have to have like clearance to even get into the gate, to get to that area of the base, and then into the building. You know what I mean? And they're saying, well, one person heard gunshots. Well, what fucking sense is that? So you're going to shut it all down because one person, it's not like there's only one person in the building. It's a pretty big building. One person heard gunshots. You're going to shut the whole thing down. Nobody else heard them. That doesn't make sense. It was weird. So I don't know. I'm not sure what happened yet. But yeah, I forgot about that. I forgot. I'm glad you reminded me, because like I said, my shit right now is crazy. I got to catch up. I've been busy as well.
that's what I'm here for, babe.
I appreciate it. But yeah, so anyway, what do you have any thoughts on it?
No, what the fuck do I know? I don't. I'm over here asking you what's going on.
Yeah, just, I thought I'd
I
ask.
well, I guess let me. I guess my 2 cents would be this: is that I live in Chicago and I have children in the school systems here and in the outlying suburbs, and lockdowns are kind of a more common occurrence than I wish they were.
And
And
they'll lock down for like really small shit, and I appreciate that they do.
yeah, so if so, my only basis of experience is just dealing with the schools, and I know that both of my kids have had their schools on lockdown because of some fucking goofball did some stupid shit 2 blocks away, and
Sure.
it's got nothing to do with anything, And so I don't know. So for to be a false alarm, honestly, most of the lockdowns that I've had experience with were false alarms, but this one could not be. And if you say it's not, I tend to believe you. So
And
we'll
I mean,
see.
thank God, if it is, thank God. You know what I mean? Like, nobody wants to, that's not cool. But, at the same time, you're telling me a military base that has military personnel on it took 2 fucking hours to sweep that building. and then another 2 to sweep it. No. No, 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 no. Nope, I'm not buying it. Nope, not buying it. So, I don't know, I'm not sure yet what happened. If you have information on what happened, maybe listen to the show, maybe you're close to the base, I don't know. Let me know about it because you could hear the shit. And when it does go on lockdown, you're scared. You're scared because, for one, the first thing you think is a terrorist attack, and you're right
Right.
up the road. I mean, if we get nuked, they're going to nuke Wright Patterson, and I live here. And I don't want to die by a nuke. That's not
You'll die
metal.
quick though. No, it's not very metal. It's a very
No, it's
unmetal way to
not.
go.
Right. I mean, come on, that's not fitting. So I'd be pissed. I'd be like, you got right before the nuke hits you, like, you gotta be fucking, and then I would be dead. So,
Right.
so anyway, so that's happened. Maybe I'll have a better update about it next week. But I just came home. I know you guys think it's Wednesday. It's not really Wednesday now, and right now it's Monday, and I just came home yesterday. So, um, we'll see what happens. But this happened Thursday. Um, so anyway, I was getting ready to tell you about my special interview next week. So, like I said, it's supposed to be the Mothman Festival. We're still going down there. We're investigating. I've got a documentary to finish, but I'm meeting up with somebody very, very important. Actually, I'm meeting up with. I've been invited to the home of Tanya Derenberger, just Woodrow Derenberger's daughter, who still maintains contact with our special guest tonight here, Indrid Cold. So that's awesome. Actually, I'm gonna go down there. I'm gonna interview her for the documentary. What she's agreed to. We've become really good friends. Actually, it's really kind of, I don't know. I don't know. It feels unreal to me. To me, she's like a celebrity, But anyway, she's gonna give me a bunch of Woody stuff. That's why I call him Woody. So that's gonna be really amazing. So
Cool. Are you
that's
bringing back up or
fun.
are you going solo?
What's that?
Are you bringing back up or are you going solo?
Oh, of course I'm bringing backup. People are going with me. She's going to take us down to where her dad first met Indrid, and I don't think anybody's ever been to the exact spot before. I mean, it's not like Indrid's going to be like, "Oh, this is where you just hang out here." Maybe he does. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, of course the crew's going with me, so it'll be a lot of us, and we'll be doing that. And plus other things. Like I said, I've got the other people, and I got other people to interview and stuff like that. But for this episode, that's why I thought it would be a good idea to talk about Indrid Cold, because I'm probably going to share the update next week about how that went. So you got to listen next week too.
Right on.
Um, so there's that. But in case you guys didn't know, today we're going to talk about the grinning man, Indrid Cold. Pat, what do you know about what did you know about Indrid?
Oh my God, absolutely nothing.
Really?
Yeah, it was one of those things
That's
where like
cool.
people would bring them up and I'd be like, oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. And I wouldn't know what the fuck they were talking about. I actually thought it was Indrid Cole, Cole, for the longest
Oh,
time. I didn't know that it was Cold, the Cold. Um, but yeah, that's that was always me. I like thought I kind of knew, but I was like, oh, isn't that the person that showed up? I don't fucking know. And it was yeah, it was not on my radar at all. Now, once I started researching it, I kind of had a way different reaction, and there
sure.
was a lot of stuff that started pinging my radar. But we will get into that later. But yeah, so this was a fresh one for me.
We will get into that later. But yeah, Andrew Cold, I mean, obviously it's, closer to home for me. Um, more ways than one. Very interesting story, and We'll talk opinions later on. But the basics of it, I'll throw you the basics right now, is that on November 2nd, 1966, a sewing machine salesman by the name of Woodrow Derenberger was driving back home in Mineral Wells, Ohio. He was driving back home to his home in Parkersburg, West Virginia. Well, I think he lived in Parkersburg at the time. And while he was driving, he started being tailgated by this car. And, the car was being kind of an asshole. And he's like, okay, my guy. And, he's like, what the fuck? So then the car decides to jump over him. It jumped up through the sky and jumped over him. And obviously, cars don't do that, especially not in 1966. So, and then the car got in front of him, and it wasn't a spaceship. And it stopped in the middle of the road, and the doors opened up, and out of it walked just some dude, just some guy walked out. I mean, he had some weird things about him. His clothes were metallic, and he just looked really happy-go-lucky. And he, walked up to Indrid's car window and started speaking with him telepathically. And that was the kickstart of a lifelong relationship between Woodrow Derenberger and Indrid Cold. Um, they discussed a couple of things. It wasn't a very long encounter. I think he said it was like 9 minutes, which is oddly specific. But he, Indrid just told him that he asked what the lights were, which was the city ahead. And he told him the town. Indrid said that he didn't tell him his name was Indrid at the time. He told him his name was Cold, and he told him that they kind of they have that at their place or whatever, and they just kind of talked for a minute. And he was like, okay. He's like, well, I'll see you again, and he left, and he kept going on his word, and he saw him again, and we'll get into those details. But what do you think about that first encounter, that initial encounter?
Um, the whole thing kind of seemed I don't know. It's if it wasn't for, I guess, my own stuff, I would just think that it seemed kind of nonsensical, and I would just be like, all right, well,
Sure.
some dude met another dude, and you know,
Yeah. Yeah,
two,
right.
two dudes met on the road, and information was exchanged, and then they went on their way.
Yeah, pretty uneventful. I mean, it's crazy, right? But it's one of those things that's like, well, okay, I mean, whatever. That guy could be lying, that didn't happen. But Woody went home, okay, and obviously he was late coming home, and his wife's like, what? And he was, I mean, he was, pretty shocked by what just happened, and his wife's like, what's going on? So she told him, or he told her, and then I think they called the police, and the police came and interviewed him, did about a 2 hour long interview, and recorded it. So you can listen to those tapes if you want. But they asked what happened, what was going on, and I mean, within a couple of hours of this event happening, it had just absolutely fucking exploded. Absolutely exploded. Everybody was all over it. Everybody wanted to know what happened. They were like, "What? A spaceship came down, and some regular guy came out and talked to you," and they were fascinated by it. But what was extra fascinating about it was that within a couple of hours of this event happening, um, officials came down from Wright Patterson Air Force Base and spoke with Woody, and they said, listen, we believe you. We just want to know what you know. He told them, exactly what happened, and then they went on their way. Never talked to him again after that. But that was interesting. Very pointed and very odd. But he went on with life, and then a little while later, I can't remember how much. It wasn't that much longer. A lot of things happened within the first year of him meeting Indrid, but some time had passed, and Indrid did come back. He didn't come back initially, though. At first, when he was saying that Indrid was still talking to him, like he had left, but they were still communicating telepathically. Like they could talk to each other, and he would feel strange. He would have this really, he said he had a funny little feeling, and then he would hear Indrid's voice in his head, and that was interesting. Um, and then that was that, and everybody's just like, okay, well, this guy's crazy. He's nuts. He's hearing voices. Fucking crazy guy. But then Indrid showed back up again at Woody's house, and this time he didn't come alone. He was outside. He stayed outside. Introduced himself to Woody's wife, and stood outside, and he brought a friend with him by the name of Carl Ardo, and it was one of his species. They called themselves Seekers, is what they called themselves. And at that meeting, they got a lot more information. They sat and they talked about, Indrid then told him his name was Indrid, and they talked about Lanulos, which is allegedly where they're from. He said that they live on Lanulos, and I didn't write down the galaxy name, but it doesn't matter. It's not recognized by anybody in astronomy. But they shared with him that they were fourth dimensional, and all kinds of information. And Woody's wife corroborates the story. Like, she's like, yeah, I've met Indrid. He comes all the time. And after that meeting, like Indrid started coming over a lot. Like he was a frequent guest at their home. And she's like, well, yeah, he was there. And the kids all met this man, the spaceman. And all these people are like, well, yeah, we've seen him. So then people started to hang around the house, and they wanted to catch a glimpse of this Indrid Cold because, again, this story blew up. It was huge, and people would wait outside and they'd wait for him to show up. But then they started harassing the family as well. They would call their phone all hours of the night. Sometimes they would call and say that they were Indrid Cold and they were just, call and talk or whatever. But in one instance, a couple of teenagers were hanging out behind a tree or a bush or something, waiting. And what they had seen was a black car pull up and a man dressed in all black get out and go up to the house, and Woody was outside, and they talked for a couple of minutes, and then the man got back in the car and left. Nobody knows who he was. But that was really that's all anybody had really seen. So that was interesting. Well, things got even more interesting because Woody started being taken up by Indrid to Lanulos. He started visiting there. And, obviously things got a little more detailed from there. He learned a lot more about these people. They're very similar to us. I mean, very, very similar to us. They have monogamous relationships. They have families. They even have religion. They believe in God.
That makes them similar to who?
To us.
To us? Like me and you?
Like humans. Yeah, they're like, just
all right.
You know how much we love monogamy and religion around
I was
here.
going to say, yeah. I couldn't think of two better words to describe me and you. Please continue.
Religion.
Yeah. Religious and monogamous. And soberous.
Not very, very soberous, yes.
Right.
Just like us. But no, he he went up there, he learned a lot. He learned that the lifespan of these people is 2 centuries. So upwards of 200 years. That's not uncommon at all. He learned that these fourth dimensional creatures couldn't they couldn't stay here for long, because if they I took a little excerpt from something that I had read about it because I don't describe it very well. I'll read it. It says, Indrid Cold explained that he and others like him could only remain on Earth for short periods of time. According to him, the people of Lanulos aged in reverse if they stayed away from their home planet for too long. If they overstayed their time restrictions, they risked losing their memories. Such an event would render them unable to operate the craft that would return them to Lanulos. And that's why Indrid said that his visits only lasted a couple of hours at a time, and that's why he started taking Woody to the planet instead, because it was easier. He could go pick him up and be like, "Oh, come on, let's go," and he would go. And Woodrow would disappear. He would disappear for long periods of time, and come back. And
I need to start working on that excuse. Like,
yeah,
honey,
you're going to Lanulos?
I'm going to Lanulos. I'll be back in 3 days. Don't worry, they're monogamous there.
They're monogamous and religious. They're good people.
Right.
But,
they're just like us.
They're just like us. Just gonna look at you like, oh, they're just like you?
They're just like me.
Yeah, it's like me. We're at Lanulos. Lanulos is a club.
Sure.
Club. And they got
that would be funny, because you know how like bars always call themselves the office, so that you could say things like, "I'm going to the office."
Yeah.
Or like, say, "I can't go. Yeah, honey, I'm still at the office. I'll be home in an hour." And that way, like, I guess you're not lying. For people that need to drink before they go home at night but don't want to lie to their spouses,
yeah,
they name places the office, and it's like that would be like the 14.
yeah.
like example of that is like Lanulos. Like, oh, I'm still on, like, name the bar Lanulos. Like, oh, I'm still on Lanulos. I'll be home later.
Maybe we need to do that. Maybe we need to open a bar called Lanulos.
Yeah.
We could start Indrid Cold ones. Listen, I have been fucking on top of it with these jokes lately. Let me tell you something.
God, I know. If you want to follow like the through line, tune in to last week's episode where she made a dad joke. I forget what it was. I was re-listening to it, and I was like,
I said cryptocurrency is not the currency that Bigfoot uses.
Right.
That's what I said.
And
I stick by it. Um, I guess I could have just let them go listen and find out, but that
Sure.
episode's a hard listen. Anyway, um, so yeah, so he would leave, and he would do his thing on Lanulos, whatever it was they did there, and he would come back, and things were just very stressful. His wife divorced him because she couldn't take the publicity anymore.
Yeah,
It
it had
was
nothing to
getting
do
out
with
of
him
hand.
disappearing for 3 days at a time. It was the publicity that
I
finally
mean,
drove a
she
wedge between the
she
two.
she probably thought that was pretty rude. I mean,
Right. Yeah.
I'm sure, but I don't know. She divorced him. It didn't do well. This man lost everything. He lost his job. He ended up having to move out of the town because he was a fucking pariah. Because this weird situation and all these stories he was telling all these people, I just thought he was nuts.
Yeah.
And they'd fuck with him all the time. So he ended up moving. I mean, it was really unfortunate. He did eventually, like he started a kind of a new life. He got married again and stuff like that. He lived into his 70s and died in the 90s. But to this day, he maintains that he met and befriended this guy. I mean, it never ended. Um, so I know one of the thought processes that is going through people's head is, and Pat, you and I have talked about it before. Maybe the guy was just insane. And Woody thought that. He thought that, you know what, I might just be crazy and this might not really be happening. And he went and he saw a psychiatrist. He was evaluated. They had absolutely no reason to believe. And again, but everybody knew who this guy was. He was famous. Absolutely no reason to believe that this guy was mentally ill whatsoever. Not just that. Listen to this. Listen to this shit. You ready for this?
I'm ready.
Not a lot of people know this. I'm excited to share this. The psychiatrist that he went and saw after about a month after he was, treating Woodrow, he was contacted by Indrid Cold. He talked to him. Now, he says that he was contacted telepathically. He didn't actually physically meet him. He said he was contacted telepathically, and he refused to disclose what was told, what was said. Isn't that nuts?
Wow.
The psychiatrist, right? That guy had no reason to make that shit up. Woody wasn't making any money off of any of this. Like, everybody hated him. Just fucking crazy, fucking crazy. So that's basically, so that's between Woody and Indrid. I like to call him Woody. I don't know, Woody. So what else happened? Let me tell you what else happened. All right, John Keel. Right, we all know John Keel, the Mothman prophecies. John Keel, my favorite. I said earlier, it's my hero. John Keel, while he was doing his Mothman research, because he was there during all the Mothman. Oh yeah, I guess we'll mention that too. This incident that happened is about. It's not far outside of Point Pleasant, West Virginia. Again, it happened November 2nd, 1966. 10 days later is when the first Mothman sighting happened. So it was the very start of all this, and we'll talk about theories in a bit, but that's important to note. So John Keel was already in the area. Woodrow Derenberger went to him because he was there doing his Mothman research, and what was crazy was that as soon as Woody told him what had happened or about Indrid Cold, John Keel had received an ominous phone call before meeting Woody. He received an ominous phone call from somebody saying that his name was Indrid Cold. And what he said to John Keel was to stay out of West Virginia. Something bad was going to happen. And that was it. That was the phone call. So John Keel also corroborates this guy's story. So, and John Keel does have something to gain out of it. Let's be honest. You know what I mean? But it just depends on how much you want to believe John Keel. And I believe that man with every fiber in my being because he's my hero. And then, of course, we'll go to Tanya. We'll talk about Tanya for a bit, and then we can get into theories and all that fun stuff. So Tanya Derenberger is Woodrow's daughter. Woodrow ended up writing a book called Visitors from Lanulos. You can purchase it and buy it and read it. Tanya, to this day, maintains that this was all true, 100% true. And she knows it's true, not just because she believes her father, but because she's met these people. And that Indrid has 3 kids, and they all come and visit her. now. I mean, they'll come and visit her on Mother's Day. She doesn't really know when it is that they're going to visit, but they pop up. They'll come visit her, and she has gone on to write books about the incidents. So I think she's got two of them out right now. It's called Beyond Lanulos, and then A Man Named Cold. And so she's written about her experiences with it. And she says that, and we'll get into this when we get into theories, but she says that Indrid Cold died. He had died in a space accident, being chased by somebody.
Space police?
By space police, I guess.
Okay.
There's like wars and stuff going on. I mean, the lore is deep, and so he got killed in an accident. He was in an accident, in a chase of sorts, and he died. Him and one of his kids. I think him and Carl Ardo both died, and then and that's from his children, Connor and Kennard are their names. He told her this. They told Tanya about this. Tanya believes, though, that Indrid is still alive and that he's just simply in hiding.
Right.
And there's reason to believe that Indrid Cold is still visiting Earth, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. I keep teasing all this, but this is the lore. This is where we're at. So I don't know. When I talk to her, we'll see what she tells me. But yeah. So again, this man, and Tanya's got nothing to gain from it. Her dad was, everybody thought he was crazy. Everybody thinks she's crazy. She's selling books, but let me tell you something. She lives in Parkersburg, West Virginia. And if you've never been to Parkersburg, just think about the dirtiest town you've ever been in. That's Parkersburg, West Virginia.
Oh, geez, that's nice.
It's fucking bad. I'm telling you, it's scary. It's really bad there. And, she's not making money off this. She's not getting anything out of it. So why continue the story?
Right.
But anyway. Those are all the big pieces I've got. Let's talk some theories. Pat, what do you think about this after hearing everything that or was there anything that you had found that you wanted to share that I didn't mention?
Yeah, the connection to the black-eyed children cases.
Okay.
That was something that kind of those cases I'm very familiar with. But I guess Indrid Cole, from what I was reading online, his appearances to people kind of follow in suit with smiling stranger cases, where someone will kind of maybe not necessarily him or someone that exactly fits his description, but where people have encounters with these bizarre, slightly non-human appearing and acting strangers that have big grins and seem pleasant enough, but also seem just slightly out of place.
Right.
And that's a whole phenomenon and they're usually attributed to UFOs. They happen around UFO sightings, or they precede or follow UFO sightings, or some kind of connection with that. So that's kind of a lesser known phenomenon, kind of in tandem with the Men in Black stuff too, humanoid, slightly humanoid appearing people that kind of
just seem off.
And that interact with people that have had encounters or sightings or whatever. And so this is kind of like a phenomenon that happens, right? Indrid Cole is the only report, is the most notable one, but there are other ones that kind of fall in that.
Right.
And then people connect those with the black-eyed children. Now, the black-eyed children, I remember from Coast to Coast AM, it was like a recurring thing that George Norrie would talk about. He'd make a big deal every time there was a new black-eyed children sighting. And that is something where isn't necessarily as strongly connected to the UFO phenomenon, but people will be awoken in the middle of the night at home, and there'll be black-eyed children in their driveway or knocking on their door asking to come in and stuff like that. And people think that they're potentially extraterrestrials using some kind of screening system to appear to be children or something else. Or people think that they're vampires. That's why they want permission to come inside the house. Right. So not to derail the show into all that shit. But when I was, like I said, knowing nothing about Indrid Cold, when I started to look into all this, that was the stuff that popped that I kind of came across that really caught my interest, because I did know about that shit. So,
wow, very.
I don't know if he necessarily ties into all this stuff, because it rhymes a little bit, but it's not exactly the same. He's got a very specific story There's a very specific arc, and like you said, there's a lot of lore, which I didn't come across any of that shit with like space battles and fucking children.
Oh,
And
I'm heavy. This is my
yeah,
life's work. So.
please post links on that because I would love to take a deep dive on that next time I got to
Buy
take
the
a shit.
books. Buy the books. They talk about it.
I guess I read enough. I
They're
will.
very small. I'm telling you, they're you know what? You can read it in about a day. They're very, but no, they're decent. No, another thing I did forget to mention was that other people had also corroborated the at least the spaceship part, the UFO part, because numerous people saw the same fucking craft that night. Actually, two other gentlemen previously were traveling down that same road, had the same fucking thing happen to them. The spaceship stopped in front of them. They thought it was a car. It was not. It stopped in front of them, and they were like, "Nope," and they left. You think they regret it?
No. You know what? It's funny that you bring that up because that was something that I was thinking about. Yeah, I mean,
Now that they know, like, the guy was friendly as hell and, like, they could have had
well,
an alien best friend forever.
you know, as someone that's kind of had some experiences of my own and spent a lot of energy running away from them, I feel that I've put a decent enough distance between myself and them now. But I wonder if that was necessarily the right move. You
Yeah.
know?
I mean,
Because you have a brush with something that fantastical, and of course your knee-jerk reaction is to be afraid. But
oh, yeah.
what would happen if you weren't? But then
Well,
again, anyone that's watched fucking horror movies know that you don't go towards the fucking
I'll,
noise. You don't.
I'll get off on a tangent a little bit and put it into a different perspective for people. And it's like, the one thing that I have to come to terms with as somebody who, you guys know I have a show, but I do this. I investigate this stuff. This is my job. And one thing that I've thought heavily about is what if go to meet Tanya, and what if one of the colds does show up and it's real? Then what? You know what I mean? And yes, I first of all, I'll say this right now. I believe in Indrid Cold. I do. There's too much to it. It is probably, to me, this is probably one of the most solid pieces of evidence that there is out there. I believe in, and I didn't. I was a complete skeptic because I had always heard weird shit. Like I'd heard about it and stuff, in passing. And I had heard stuff that like Woody had went to Lanulos and he got impregnated because allegedly the men get pregnant there. He had gotten impregnated and had alien babies. None of that
Holy
was
shit!
well. So none of that was ever actually said. Somebody had said it. Somebody had made fun of Woody and said it, and he just kind of ran with it. And was like, yeah, whatever. I had alien baby, because at that point he was being so ridiculed. But he never actually made that claim. So I'm like, now that I've really dug into it and I know just about everything that there is to know about it, I believe in this story. And it's also fucking terrifying because I thought about that. What if they show up and they invite me to go to Lanulos? Do I go? Because that's scary. It really is a scary thought when you really
Right.
think about it. Most people
Right.
you can't really even think about that. I know what people are thinking right now. Oh, fuck yeah, I'd go. But no, listen, have you really sat down and thought about it? Because when you think of like the practicality, like I have a child that I'm raising, you know what I mean? I got pets. Like, do I just go? What do I do? And that is something that I have to think about in speaking with Tanya and getting close with her. And, because if she trusts me and they're real, then there's a good chance I have of meeting these things.
Well, I mean, not to name drop probably the most famous extraterrestrial movie of all time, but Close Encounters of the Third Kind. I mean, it ends with Richard Dreyfuss, who's been chasing these UFOs that he spotted the whole entire movie, right? They end up on the fucking mountain with Jacques Vallée or whoever the fuck those people are. And the UFO comes down, and he's given the option to leave his family and Earth behind and get on the spaceship and go see what else is out there, or stay at home. And
Yeah.
he does it. He gets on the fucking spaceship and then goes away. And like that's such an interesting talking point because, and that's why Spielberg did it, is because it
Nobody thinks about it,
it
really.
invites conversation. Like if
It
you were,
does.
you're giving an opportunity that's it's a not even like a fraction of your species even has this chance. Like, this is
Right.
such a rare thing to be able to do as a human being in the history of mankind. This is like, and you're going to be like, I'm too afraid to do it. Like, most of us would be too. If most people be like, I'm not getting on that fucking
It's a
ship.
lot of pressure. Well, right. So like, even if they're
Right.
like, even if they're like, come for a weekend, come hang out for a weekend.
You don't know.
I
You
don't
don't
know.
know.
Right? I don't know these fucking people. You know.
You don't know anything about this. And
Right.
most people, when they see that, would be like, hell no, I'm not getting on that fucking ship. Or they'd be like, hey man, he's got kids, because he does. He has children, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, but still, like, let's look at this. Like, let's actually play it out in your fucking head. Let's do the simulation here.
And it's
Like,
wild. And I've thought
right,
about it so much. And it's
right.
like I said. So do I pass up the opportunity of a lifetime, or do I go? And even if I go, so let's say, hey, come with us for a weekend, and I go, okay, and I go for the weekend, and I come back home. Who the fuck is going to believe me?
I will. Come pick me up.
Oh, Pat will believe in me.
I seriously got nothing going on Saturday night. They're going camping with the Cub Scouts. They won't even know I'm gone.
We'll go.
It's
Hey, wife,
fucking
I'm
great.
going to Lanulus for
Right.
real.
Just give me 5 minutes to feed the dogs and put Lexi away in her cage.
I wonder if they'll take a selfie with me. Oh my gosh, that would be so nice. But even then, they look like us, right? So I mean, if that particular species looks like us, then I take a selfie with them. People are like, oh, it's just some fucking
Tell you,
guy.
I'm gonna get all the men there pregnant. Well,
That's
I'm
what
gonna
I have
get
always said.
everybody pregnant on that fucking planet. All
I
the
am
men.
going to get all of them in pregnant. I've been saying it this whole time. Listen, they're at risk. Like, I will impregnate them.
I'm sure that you're gonna give them cooties.
I am. I'm gonna give them my sperm cooties or whatever
Oof.
it is. But no, I do. I think about it a lot because, like I said, I have to decide at that point. Then it becomes not just, because for the most part, this is fun. It's something I've been passionate about. It's a very romantic idea that these things of the unknown exist. But when you really think about it that way, it becomes very fucking real.
Right.
And again, most people don't think about that. Just like I think about, like, what if I saw a Bigfoot in the woods? Like, yes, I want to see a Bigfoot in the woods, but I'm going to be fucking terrified because
Well,
it could kill me.
Yeah, and that's a
Well,
little bit different too, because you don't know the level of intelligence there. I mean, it could be
well, that's true. I mean,
could
but
be an
at
animal.
random, like, I don't want to see a fucking bear in the woods because it'll kill me too. Like, I
Right,
don't want that
right.
shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, that's the thought process I have there. But at the same time, like, yes, I want to see it. Then I know, so I do. I think about these things, and I wonder. And when I dig into these other researchers like Keel, and maybe one day we'll just have a whole episode about John Keel, because the man, he's crazy. I'll tell you that right now. He was crazy, but not all of it was crazy, and but people like Keel go insane. They go nuts chasing this stuff. And it's not just him, there's others, but even people like, let me tell you, Einstein. I don't know if you've ever read Einstein, wrote an autobiography, and I don't know if you ever read it, but if you read it, he went crazy because he felt so alone, because he knew these truths about the world that nobody else could possibly recognize. And it's not like anything supernatural or anything like that. We're just talking big science, but really that's all this shit is big science, But, people that kind of are tapped into this stuff, they just lose their minds chasing after it. And I worry, is that going to be me? Is this the rabbit hole I'm falling down? And then I just end up sounding fucking nuts. Meanwhile, I'm just showing people exactly what is and isn't out there. That's all real. And it's that I just look crazy because they're huge concepts that people can't understand. I don't know. So.
I had a period of mental instability in my youth, and if you go back and you listen to the pilot episode of People Who Make Stuff, our interview with Hank Patterson, that me and him get into it because he had a similar thing up in Toronto, because we're approximately the same age, but yeah, that happens when you kind of realize just how out of step you are with everybody else.
Right.
It's a hard thing to swallow, and you kind of are faced with this choice of, am I going to live like this, or am I going to conform? Right. And I think literally every person on the face of the planet faces that crossroads at some point in their life to some degree. And most people just kind of conform, and that's that. But but to choose not to and to continue being a little bit out of step with the rest of the world, it's a difficult decision to make. It's a scary decision to make because you're choosing a life of discomfort.
Right.
And sometimes we regret making that decision, and there's an adjustment period. But as someone that's 40 years old and has learned to live the way that I have, granted, it's not like I'm some fucking super hardcore conspiracy not living off the grid, but I've made peace for the most part with how I've learned to balance those two things. Being myself, being different, holding these different beliefs true to me, but at the same time being able to function in society. It's a balancing act. I'm all the way upstairs. You can still hear those fucking dogs, man. Jesus Christ.
I wasn't gonna say anything.
No,
but...
baby, it's all good. I know. I live here too. You don't gotta fucking say anything to me. I live here. I know what this shit's like.
No wonder why you want to go to Lanulus.
know,
But
right?
no, I mean it is, it's big stuff, but we'll see. I mean, obviously, if there's not a show next week, you guys know why. It's because I went to Lanulus. But no, in all seriousness, let's get back to the Indrid Cold situation.
Sure.
Because we kind of got off on a little bit of a tangent, a good one, but just sit on that for the next week. Think about that. Would you guys go? Mm-hmm. If you had the chance, would you go? But I digress. Yeah. So this Indrid Cold thing again. The man had no reason to do this. He had no reason to make up this wild. It's one of those things. It's one of those stories that is so fucking out there. Like I said about the vegetable man when we did the West Virginia cryptids episode, it's so fucking out there that it almost has to be true. There's really no other option, and not just him, his family, his kids and his wife met this man. The psychiatrist met this man. John Keel met this man before he even knew about the man. It wasn't just him saying these things. You did have the UFO sightings that same night. The
Right.
Mothman stuff hadn't happened yet. So it's not like he was just caught up in Mothmania. You know what I mean? What was this? I mean, why did that? And let's talk about that for a minute. There are some people, because we talked about that piece of shit, movie by the Mothman Prophecies, which that character in the movie, I'll say it again, that's supposed to be John Keel. Richard Gere or whatever is supposed to be John Keel. And it makes it more about Indrid Cold than the Mothman. So people think that the Mothman and Indrid Cold could be the same person. John Keel actually thought that it was the same thing. There are some people that I've heard say that they think that the Mothman was actually here because he was hunting Indrid Cold.
Oh, man.
Like maybe some type of predator situation or bounty hunter or something like that, because when what they talk about is Mothman is often seen peering into windows and peering into cars and that kind of stuff, and that's why he's here. He's actually here to collect Indrid for whatever reason, and again, we're talking about space wars and things like that, so maybe, could be,
sure,
sorta, very interesting that connection was made at all. I don't know if I necessarily subscribe to that idea.
That makes a better movie.
That would make a way better fucking, wouldn't it though?
Yeah.
That'd be great. But I believe that theory more than the Harbinger of Doom theory. So I'll tell you this, there's more water in that one than there is to the Harbinger. So, I would buy that. So that's an interesting angle. Yeah. And what do you think about it? But do you think that Indrid Cold is do you think this happened? You didn't answer that yet.
I mean, sure. Okay. Yeah. I mean, why not? It could have. I wasn't there. I don't fucking know. But you're right. There's enough witnesses and different stories that kind of line up. It doesn't follow any huge meta narrative that we kind of believe in. But I mean, I think those should be distrusted like anything else. At this point, the standard UFO narrative, if there is one, is kind of so well rehearsed and so widely accepted that it should be distrusted like everything else that's
sure
well rehearsed and widely accepted. You know what I mean? So yeah, why not entertain this one for a little bit? But it's just, I guess people just kind of cringe a little bit when you start naming shit. Like, what is it called? Legolas?
Lanulos.
Lanulos. You're like, oh, really? That's what it's called? Like, if there was no name for it, you'd be like, oh, you went
It's
back
called
to
Legolos, like the guy from
yeah, one of the rings. But it's like, yeah, I mean, just think about it like this. Like, this is a perfect fucking exercise for our listeners at home. If we didn't say the name of the planet, it sounds like 5% more believable than when we tell you the name of the planet. It's fucking Legolas. You know what I mean? Like, once you say the name of the planet, you're like, oh, really? That's what it's called, and you believe it a little bit less. I'm sorry, but that's the way I'm wired.
You're right. That's
Right?
a really lame name. I agree.
Yeah, well, because now you've named it. Now you've put something. You've put a definitive thing on everything that's kind of malleable and abstract in your mind, right? Because this stuff could mean anything. The guy could be from anywhere. His goal could be anything. The planet could be named anything, right? We don't know. We don't know, and then we kind of fill in the blanks ourselves. But then when you start saying, no, actually, the guy's name is Indrid Cold, and he's from
Legless.
Legolas. You know what I mean? And the men get pregnant, and you're like, oh, fucking really? And then all that, and then it starts to shade in the areas, and you start putting like, and then people are like, I don't know if I believe this. Sounds like a bunch of nonsense. So I
Yeah.
don't know. But I'll buy it. Like why
Why
not?
do you think that more people don't know about? Because this isn't a very popular, you know what I mean? Like this isn't a big, smoking gun case. People don't, and it should. I mean, it should be. Let's be fucking honest here. Again, like I said, this holds more water than anything I've ever. I say that a lot. Holds a lot of water. That's because I'm a water sign. Um. Anyway, it's a big. There's a lot of evidence here that we're talking. Why is it not bigger? Why don't people talk about this when they talk? You always hear about Travis Walton and Barney and Betty Hill. You hear about that. You don't hear about Woodrow Derenberger. You don't hear about Indrid Cold. And why not? I mean, we still have people that are alive in the family. I want to talk to her kids, and from the sounds of it, so she's moving into a house. Tanya is, and she's moving into a house actually on the same route that her dad met Indrid on. Just bought a house on the same route, which is really cool and really wholesome. And she's going to be living with her daughter. I want to talk to her daughter. Has she met them? Because I think she has. I,
Well,
I think the whole family has met these people.
why do people gravitate towards Travis Walton's story? Why did Travis Walton's story get the Hollywood treatment? This one
It
didn't?
was horrifying.
Because I mean, according to him, his original experience wasn't, but I think it's because of those gray areas, because it was a little bit
Not
more
gray.
mysterious.
Yeah,
Whereas this, it's like it's too. There's not this whole like unknown. Like there's too many concrete details that were established. The guy has a name. He comes from a specific location, And like
that's
I said, I
true.
think that makes it less unbelievable because it's the mystery about this shit that we don't know, and this is what they said, and they can't remember, and they don't know, or blah blah blah. It's all of that people kind of will entertain more because they're not told to believe one specific thing. With the Indrid Cold case, you're given a specific set of facts that you are to believe,
That's true.
and that's harder for some people to digest. I think I could be wrong. Although Betty and
Mhm.
Barney Hill had a lot of specificity in their story too, when they were shown maps and shit on the craft.
They did, but they didn't have an ongoing relationship to like answer some of these questions that people had.
Yeah,
You
that's the
know,
other thing too. Is the guy keeps coming back.
he
You know,
does. He keeps coming back. And I was gonna mention that. So other people have reported seeing, and I didn't make this connection for a really long time. Other people have reported seeing a similar craft. It looks like a big car. Well, he ended up saying it looks like some type of, I think he said a kerosene, not a kerosene lamp. He described it as something very specific. I don't know. But initially he thought it was a car. It had headlights. And other people have described a very similar craft that they've seen. So people speculate, is this Indrid? Is it his family? Is it the same species? What is it? I have seen one of these. I saw this back in I told the story when me and Ivy did the episode on aliens. I saw it back in probably 2009, 2010. And I was outside, it was nighttime, I was smoking a cigarette. All of a sudden, very slow moving, but looked like two headlights. And whatever it was huge. It was big. Looked like two headlights came up over the tree line where I was and just kind of went over. And I couldn't see the rest of it because it was dark, but I saw the two headlights and it just moved on. We didn't have drones and shit back then. Definitely nothing that big. and it scared the hell out of me. I'm terrified of aliens. I've said this before. I'm scared of them. I don't know why.
Right.
I have no idea why, but I'm scared of them. And not because I think they want to hurt us, because they would obviously do that by now, but like just the idea of it, it's scary to me because then it just opens up a whole nother door of possibilities. Once we do prove that they exist, it opens up this whole fucking world. And it's intimidating. I guess that's what I should say. It's not necessarily scary as in like a horror type. It's just intimidating as hell. So I went and what was wild was that this was another synchronicity. I went and I looked up, I looked up a website because I used to follow this stuff that you could report UFO sightings. And I went on there and I wanted to see if anybody else had seen it. So I was scrolling through it, and I had found a specific page where somebody had typed up this encounter they were having in real time, that they were at home, they were being terrorized by 3 to 4, a couple of small beings, small aliens, and they needed help, and nobody would help them. And what's crazy is that that's what happened in the Kentucky,
Right.
the Kelly Hopkinsville case. That's what the Hellier people are investigating, is a very similar report to that. And a different one, a current one that allegedly is happening right now. So why, and then I've talked about the Hellier folk before. That's where I came across synchronicity, and I realized that I wasn't nuts, and that this was something people studied. That was the first time I'd ever felt validated at all. I don't necessarily subscribe to their ideas, but they do validate my own experience with this stuff. So so it was just wild when I found out that again, people were seeing this craft, and I had never really made the connection that it looked like a car until other people were reporting seeing a car like spacecraft. And I was like, fuck, I've seen that. What does that mean? So I don't know. I don't know what it means. I don't know what it is, but it's all very freaky stuff. I get into it a lot more in the documentary. I will get into it a lot more in the documentary pertaining to my own experiences and things like that. And you guys have heard me tell the stories before, I'm sure, if you've listened to those episodes. But yeah, so I don't know. Is he still around? According to Tanya, he very well could be. Again, she thinks he's in hiding, and he is still around. She says he knows he's around because he continues to talk to her, but she hasn't seen him physically. He hasn't come to visit, but the kids come and visit. The boys come and visit. So I don't know. It's a weird situation. I don't think I have anything else to share about it. Do you have anything else you want to say about
it? No, we can end it there, I
guess. Well, like I said, if there's no show next week, guys, you know why. I am busy getting all the legless aliens pregnant and drinking, I guess, because that's Lanulus is also now the name of me and Pat's bar that we're going to open.
Right.
But no, it'll be exciting. I will definitely have a lot to talk about next episode. So
you're going on Saturday?
Well, I'm going Friday night, and I'm still staying until Sunday, but I meet up with Tanya Saturday. So
okay. I'll be in touch. I'll check in on you.
Yeah, you should do that. Because I have people with me, but who knows? I mean, she's got MS and shit. She's in a wheelchair. I can take her, I think. Maybe.
Okay. Oh, look at someone just handed me all right, get out of here. Someone just handed me my cards came in the mail.
Oh yeah, your cards. Wonderful. Nice. All right. Well, Pat's gonna open up his cards, his baseball cards. He got Pokemon cards. Pat's got Pokemon cards. Oh no, it's your tarot cards, isn't it?
Right. Perfect timing.
I'm over here fucking dunking on you. Anyway, okay, all right, guys. Well, we'll see you back here next Wednesday.